Hi, today I'm going to show you a couple CSI features, specifically snapshots and online LUN expansion. I'll put a link to this site in the description, but this is our page that will describe all the CSM modules, CSI drivers being one of them. If I go to features under the CSI drivers and click on Unity, you can see some of the different features we have here, and today we're going to talk about volume expansion. So we actually have a couple examples on how we create a persistent volume and then expand it. So to give you an actual example, here is a pod definition that I have. You can see here I've got a 8 gig storage volume assigned to it. So here I'll go and actually create that pod. If I go to the actual array, so in this case Unity, you can see the 8 gig volume that was created on that side. Next I'll show you the actual persistent volume claim and the persistent volume. So the pod is up and running now, so we can actually go and log into that pod. And you'll see the data 0 mount point. So I'll create a file in here. You can see it there. And now if I show you the actual file system, you can see the 8 gig original LUN that was there. So now we'll go ahead and expand that volume. So I'll go back into that pod definition file and I'll change the original 8 gig to 10. Now if I do apply on that same file, it will go ahead and expand that volume on the array. So back in the Unity, if I refresh it, you'll see now the 8 gig became a 10 gig volume. So if I go back into the container, now this is a pretty basic container, so I don't have any ability to rescan, so I just killed it to restart the container. But if I go back into it, once it's back up and responding, you'll see that it has indeed expanded, and I didn't lose the original file that was there. So now we'll take a look at snapshots. We'll create a snapshot and show you how that process works. So like before, I'll just create a pod just to get us some source data. So we just used Nginx. If I look at the pods, you can see that it's creating, so I'll give it a minute here. So now that we see it's there, I'll show you the snap definition file. So basically, the kind is a volume snapshot. You can see the name, the snapshot class name, and then what is the original persistent volume claim. So how I got to this is, again, if you go back to that site, you can see the requirements on how to install this, and especially how to enable the snapshot feature, from installing the snapshot CRDs to actually installing the snapshot controller pods that get created as part of this. So it gives you a pretty good description, right, on how to use that snapshot class once it is created. There is a sample provided in the installer, so you don't have to create this from scratch. You can just edit the example that's given. So I'll execute the YAML file. You'll see that the snapshot has been created. It tells you what the source persistent volume claim is. If I go to the actual Unity and refresh that LUN, now you can see that there has been a snapshot created. I'm going to go in there and add some data to the original persistent volume to show you, how we can do a mount of the snapshot and show you that the files aren't there anymore. So create a couple files. So show you what the next step is here. So what we have to do is we have to create a persistent volume from the snapshot itself. So that's what this step is. So we're creating a PVC, persistent volume claim, right? The source is going to be the snapshot, and the size is going to be the same. We changed it to 10 gig before, so I'll edit this so that it's 10 gig here as well. So now I'll execute this to actually create the persistent volume based on that snapshot. And you can see here the new persistent volume that was created. It was called Restore PVC. If I go back to my Unity, you'll see that that volume is there also. So now it's just a matter of creating a new pod that is based on that new persistent volume. So that's what I have here, a new pod. And you can see the name of the persistent volume now is the Restore PVC, right? It's that new snapshot persistent volume that I created. So I'll go ahead and create a new pod based on that. Give it a minute and go ahead and take a look at the two pods, and we can log into that pod to show you that the data is no longer there. So we'll log into the new pod that was created. If we go to that mount point, you'll see that the data is no longer there. Right. So thanks for taking a look.